It was April of 1912. The North Atlantic was calm that night. The sea was smooth, almost like a mirror. Above, the sky was clear, filled with countless stars, glowing silently in the cold air. It was a night that seemed endless, timeless, and still. On that vast ocean, one ship sailed forward with confidence. It was the RMS Titanic, the largest, most luxurious ocean liner of its time. People called it unsinkable. It was a floating palace of lights, music, and comfort. On board, more than 2,000 people lived their own stories. Some were wealthy travelers enjoying every luxury. Others were families, workers, dreamers, hoping to start a new life in America. But for all of them, the Titanic was more than a ship. It was a symbol of hope, strength, and human pride. That evening, everything seemed ordinary. Passengers filled the grand dining halls. The orchestra played gentle melodies. Children laughed in the corridors. Couples walked slowly on the wide decks, wrapped in coats against the cool air. The Titanic glided forward smoothly, like a city that floated above the sea. No one could imagine that within just a few hours, the ship would no longer exist. But history often comes quietly, without warning. Dinner had ended. Some passengers stayed in the salons, sipping tea or coffee. A few gathered to play cards, their voices soft with laughter. Others returned to their cabins, preparing for sleep. In first class, the air smelled of cigars, perfume, and polished wood. In third class, families gathered together, telling stories before resting. Outside, the air grew colder. The Titanic was heading north, into waters known for drifting ice. But inside the ship, warmth and light made it easy to forget the frozen sea. The crew kept watch from the bridge. Lookouts scanned the horizon. They saw only darkness, stars, and water. The night was so still that the ocean looked like black glass. At 11:40 p.m., something changed. The lookout spotted a shape ahead, a mountain of ice, silent and pale under the stars. They rang the bell, 3 sharp strikes, and called out, "Iceberg, right ahead." Orders came quickly. The ship turned, the engines reversed. But the Titanic was huge and heavy, and the sea gave little room. Moments later, the ship brushed against the iceberg. A long, tearing sound echoed through the hull. Most passengers barely noticed. Some felt only a gentle shudder. A few heard a strange noise, like metal scraping stone. Then silence returned. The Titanic continued forward, lights glowing as if nothing had happened. In the lower decks, however, water began to flow. Cold seawater rushed into the front compartments. Steel bent, rivets snapped. The ship had been wounded in a way no one could repair. Up above, passengers asked questions. What was that sound? Did we hit something? Crew members assured them it was nothing serious. Go back to your cabins. There's no danger. But in the control rooms, officers knew the truth. The Titanic had been fatally struck. The first 5 compartments were flooding. The ship could stay afloat with 2 flooded, maybe 3, but not 5. Slowly, the bow began to sink. Captain Edward Smith was called. He listened carefully, then gave his orders. Send out distress signals. Prepare the lifeboats. Keep the passengers calm. To prevent panic, the ship's orchestra was asked to play. They carried their instruments to the deck.
Soft, soothing melodies filled the cold air. Music drifted across the sea, calm and steady. Passengers gathered to listen. Some still believed the ship was safe. Others whispered, uncertain but unwilling to fear. The music was gentle, comforting, almost like a lullaby. Imagine standing there, the night so clear, the stars endless above you, the sea perfectly still. And in the middle of it all, this great ship, glowing with light as if nothing could touch it. Slowly the truth became harder to hide. Stewards knocked on doors, asking passengers to dress warmly and put on life jackets. Families woke their children, wrapped them in coats and scarves. Some resisted. Why leave this safe, warm ship for a tiny lifeboat, they asked. No one truly believed Titanic could sink. At first, the lifeboats were lowered half empty. People hesitated, unsure. But as the tilt of the ship grew steeper, fear began to spread. The calm night turned heavy with tension. Still, the orchestra played on. The notes floated gently, keeping people from panic. Many survivors later said that music was the last thing they remembered before leaving the ship. By 1:30 a.m., the bow was deep in the water. The stern rose slowly into the sky. The lights flickered but still glowed. On deck, voices grew louder. Some cried out for loved ones. Others stood in silence, holding hands, watching the sea rise higher. The crew worked desperately, lowering the final lifeboats. Mothers and children were lifted in. Fathers and brothers stood back, watching them go. Many knew they would not,